Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are dipping our toe back into the manga world of comic books with Battle Angel Alita.
This is our second poll winner here. Well, we had a tie again. So we did a tie break. We did another tie. And we did this week. We're doing the Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah, and it was a poll on our Patreon. So if you have any interest in voting on what we do for the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, to vote and sign up or whatever on that. And I also have a Hellblazer podcast on there. Much like my Swamp Thing podcast, I'm going issue by issue through Hellblazer. So if you have any interest in that character and you want to know more about him, check that out. And we should also shout out our patrons, Hoku and Otaku Mike. Yeah, we appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for supporting us. We very much appreciate it.
Yes,
because you keep us going. And so like John said, we had a tie, so we figured we'd do both of these mangas. And last week we did Attack on Titan, and I did get confirmation from a viewer on YouTube that said we were correct in our assumption that it does get more involved, like either, I don't know if about politically, but just the story is much more crazy and in-depth and world craziness or whatever than which was what we hoped for, than what the first two volumes were, which is good, I guess. But I kind of wish, unlike Attack on Titan, Battle Angel Alita was exactly what I wanted, like in a manga, or like what a first volume should be, kind of thing. So like Attack on Titan was like, here's some characters, here's the world, and it's kind of surface level in the first two mangas. The Battle Angel Alita, it does all that, but it also like gives you more. Like it's like more of a, I guess, standard structure for a graphic novel or a storyline, and there's even some like twists and stuff that I was like, what, and then like it really hooks you in the beginning, So
Very much so. This I was taken in much quicker in this than I was in.
Yeah, for sure. Titan. So let's just get started. This manga is written by Yukito Kishi. Oh, God damn it! Kishiro. I don't know why I can't say it. Yukito Kishiro. I wish I wasn't terrible at reading.
I wish we were the whitest of white guys.
Oh, come on! I guess that's true. I'm also like looking at it sideways, just the way I'm positioned here. So
that's true. Yukito Kishiro.
Yeah, and this is a manga I believe from the 80s. I didn't look that much into it, but I mean I know it's like an old school manga. And I can feel that for sure. Like this definitely has been taken from, as far as other pop culture things have taken from it.
Very much so.
And now this actually made me want to watch the movie. Have you seen the movie?
I haven't. No. I was gonna say we didn't really jump beforehand. Like I will say I didn't really know anything except there was a movie that came out and
there was a girl
ago.
named Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah, but I didn't even I think I maybe watched a trailer and I was like, oh, that looks cool, but I didn't even know it was from a manga. So I mean, did you know anything?
I knew it was from a manga. So one of our patrons, Hoku, she said like this is like one of her favorite mangas, and she's always talked about it like since high school.
Oh wow!
And I just I wasn't reading manga in high school, and so I was just like, cool. Good for you. Like I will stick to Hellboy or whatever I was reading at the time. And then and like she talks it up and I was like, okay, cool. And then reading it, I mean, it's exactly as good as she said it was, and I'm happy it wasn't like wow, this is a pile of shit or something.
That's funny how I felt too, because when I mentioned that's what we were reading this next week, I think Otaku Mike had said like, oh man, it's one of my favorites. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, I hope I really hope I like it.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to cut any promos on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and from the cover you can tell it's about a girl named Battle Angel Alita, or assuming that, and it's like a robot girl, like a cyborg girl. And so I didn't know anything other than that. I assumed she's strong and powerful or whatever, and she's some sort of battle angel, I would assume. so that's what we were both going in pretty blind. I never saw the movie, and you never saw the movie. I don't even. Is there an anime? There must be an anime.
I'm sure there's an anime,
but I've never seen the anime either. So yeah, and this does a great job. The introduction of this just starts off with like a junkyard, and it's obviously in the future.
Yeah, it felt very like almost Terminator-y from the beginning. I felt.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, did this come? I didn't look, but I'm like, if this came out around the same time as Terminator or James Cameron read some fucking Battle Angel Alita, because there's definitely some Terminator vibes in this.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like walking through the garbage heaps and you see like skulls of
metal
skulls and stuff. Yeah. So it's like a little bit reversed of Terminator, where there's human skulls in the trash yards or whatever. But yeah, so we start off with this guy. What's his name? He's a professor.
Ito.
Ito. Sorry. So Professor Ito is walking around these trash heaps, and he's always looking around. He's like a junk finder, and he's finding junk to build different kinds of robots, different kinds of cyborgs and stuff. So that's like what you think. You know, you're like, oh, he's okay. That's what he does. He's like a scientist or something. They call him professor, so it's like, okay, he must be a scientist or something like that. But the cool thing is later on we find out that he's like a monster hunter, which I didn't see coming at all. It's like very cool.
That's one of those twists that you get from manga.
Exactly. Like, well, yeah, but if this one felt like, okay, like it was like a good setup and a good payoff for that character, because you just think, oh, he's like a dorky professor or whatever. And so he's looking through these piles of garbage, and he finds the like broken apart body of a cyborg girl. And he's like, oh, sweet, I can't believe it. You know, like I've been looking for something like this, but and like this model is old, but like, you know, it's a good model of robot or whatever. So he brings it back to his lab, and he like hooks her up to his machines, and he tries to like turn her on, and she does turn on, but like her memory is gone. She doesn't remember anything about her past, and she doesn't even know her name. So he's like, I'll just call you Alita. Like that's basically how she gets her name. He's like, it's just a placeholder. Don't worry, you know, it's fine. And I thought it was funny, like he doesn't have all the parts to build her body, so he just takes her around like a baby, like strapped to his back, and just like walks around the junkyard being like, this is a good leg for you, right? And she's like, yeah. So so he eventually does build her a body. And in the meantime, we do see there's someone going around in the alleyways of this city, this like dystopian city. And we should say the city is weird. There's like a floating landmass. At least that's what it looked like, a landmass. I'm not sure if it's a landmass or if it's made of like metal or whatever. But it's like in the middle of this city, and the people who live up there are in better conditions than people who live on the ground.
Yes.
So it's pretty standard for a sci-fi. Like the people above, like the Jetsons, live in a great, nice place, and the people, they never show the people in the.
It's the Flintstones. It's the same time period.
It's the Flintstones. That'd be amazing. That would be the best. Like most like shocking. Like he goes down and he's like, "What are these rock cars? Like, look at these primitives." You know. Like,
did you ever see that crossover movie?
No. Is there?
Yeah, there's a Flintstones and Meets the Jetsons.
Oh, okay.
I wish it was.
He
cool
goes back in time. I assume.
Yes, it's a time travel. I wish it was something cooler like that, where he just happened, like his ship ran out of gas and he like fell down below. It was the Flintstones down there.
Yeah. So we have like a cyborg. I don't know if she's a prostitute or if she's just a woman smoking, but she's in an alley, and we get like an attack scene on her where she gets her decapitated. And this is where you see like how bloody this manga will get. Like they hit her head off, and even though she's like part cyborg, it's like people have modified limbs and stuff that are cyborgs, but their head and maybe torso are actual human with blood and stuff. So her head gets taken off, and there's just blood and guts everywhere, brain and everything. And then we get a nice good look at her arm. And then the next panel, we see that Alita has those arms, or similar arms, but they have the same design and everything on them. So you're like, okay. Huh. And then the professor's like, yeah, I happened to find these the other day. Lucky me. I don't, you know?
Yeah, well, maybe he just found, she died or whatever, and he found him in the trash heap, right?
Sure, yeah, that's what happened. So, he's building Alita this new body, and I don't remember what the name of the body is. It's like, it's some sort of like, he gives it a name, but it's basically like, it's not a battle mode. It's like just a normal, well-made cyborg model.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember the next one, the more powerful one.
Yeah. And so he finally eventually gets enough parts and he builds her like a full body. She can run around and stuff. And she does go through stages like after she's on his back and she gets arms, she's got like a wheelchair. And then, she's able to run around when he gets legs.
That's fun. I like when she kind of ventures out on her own a little bit when she gets legs too. And we should say the professor has like a sidekick kind of a helper around the office.
He's got an Igor.
Yeah. Well, he does. His name is Gonzu, and he does have like a metal plate over his head.
Yeah, it seems like maybe he had his brain operated on or something like that. I don't know, but yeah. Then following along with the people being killed and robot parts appearing on Alita, we get some like foreshadowing of possibly the professor is not the nice guy you think he is, because he's all cheery and happy around Alita, but then at night he goes out and he dresses it all in black and goes out with he
got some sweet hat.
Yeah, he's got a sweet. He looks like a like an Amish person mixed with like a private detective or something.
Yeah.
and so Alita sees him walking out one night and she's like, I wonder where he's going. And also in the background we're hearing that there's been serial killings of women in the area. So it's like, I wonder what's up with that, And so Alita decides to follow him. She actually has suspicions that he may be the serial killer just based on she keeps getting new parts and they're similar to parts that have been missing on these dead women. So she follows him and she's like, please, like, I hope he's not, the guy I'm thinking he is, Hopefully he is the guy I think he is, or I hope he is, and he's not like some fucking serial killer. And then, but it doesn't look too good because as she follows him, he like opens a suitcase that he has and he pulls out this badass hammer. I like the design of this hammer. Yeah. It's got like a spike for the head instead of like a flat part, on the head of the hammer. And then there's like a rocket booster on the back of it so he can swing extra hard.
Yeah, extra hard swings.
And he puts it together and she sees him like waiting at the edge of a staircase from like an alley, and there's a woman walking down that staircase and he's about to fucking hit her with this hammer and like kill her. And Alita's like, oh no. So she jumps down and stops him from striking this woman. And then he's like, what are you doing? Look. And it turns out the serial killer was actually this woman, this monster, I guess. She looks like a woman in the silhouette that they have, but she's not a woman, or it's not a woman. She's got like claws, or it's got claws, and she's very agile. And I don't know.
It seems very much kind of like a demon-esque.
Yeah,
look to it.
It was very like Evil Dead, like I'll swallow your soul. So there's a big tussle and a big fight, and we get like to see some of Alita's power a little bit in this because he never knows where she came from, but in this scuffle, we see that she does have like some abilities as far as like agility beyond what like a normal, I guess, robot would have, or a person or whatever.
Yeah, like it seems like there's some deep-seated like fighting techniques,
like attack mode or something that she has. And so she's able to actually kill this monster. She does like a round, like I guess it's like a tumble in the air, like a somersault or whatever, and like kicks its head into the wall, and it's like splatted on the wall. So
pretty hard into the wall.
Yeah, pretty awesome. And so like that clears it up. But that was like the first. I was like, "Whoa, shit!" Like when they were suggesting that he was a serial killer. What did you think in that section?
I thought so too. I was like, "Oh man, he's been killing like he was like, oh, that robot's got good parts for my Alita."
Yeah.
I thought, he was gonna be like a creepy doctor.
Yeah, I thought so too. They never, and I was happy they never really go into creepy territory with this manga. They could, because there's definitely mangas that do.
Yeah, and there are a couple parts where they kind of gets close, but it doesn't quite.
But it's not like by the good guys. It's always the bad guys that are creepy. So that's okay. If the bad guys are creepy, that's fine. But it like, sometimes in manga they get a little fan servicey where they're like, oh, the doctor gets all handsy or something, and she's like, like, whatever, and it never goes there, at least in this first volume. So I don't think it goes there, but yeah, from there we find out that obviously he's intrigued that she has some battle skill, and we also find out that his profession besides being a professor is being a monster hunter. So like she hears that and she's like, I also want to be a monster hunter, and so she goes to like the local DMV or wherever you get certified to become a monster hunter. And he's like, I don't want you to be like, it's kind of like a dad and a daughter or something.
I was gonna say this very much turned into quickly. Like it felt very much like Stranger Things takes some things even from this, like very much that like dad and daughter who like are not actually dad and daughter, but they come together to form that kind of bond.
Yes. And like, there's even like the struggle because he doesn't want her to become a hunter. And, and he's like, I want you to be like a pretty, like I'm making you to be like a pretty, robot. And she's like, I'm not your fucking doll to like dress up.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Like if you're going to have like a empowered woman or whatever, I thought this was like a very well done, like not cringy at all. Like it just had a good setup, and these lines didn't read as like sometimes nowadays there's very like heavy-handed stuff where they're like, we want this woman to be powerful, so we're just gonna shove that in. But this felt like very natural and organic in the story, so I thought they did a good job of that. But like I said, she's like, I'm not your doll to dress up, and she even says like, I hate you, and he's just like, oh shit. But she does end up passing the test, and she gets certified to become a hunter. And then there's like, we're introduced to like the main villain of this story. He's this guy named Makaku, or Makaku. I don't know.
Yeah, Makaku or Makaku.
I don't know what the emphasis is on that syllable. And so he's like this big burly guy. He's a cyborg. And he's like a robot body with like a head, like a normal. Well, I won't say normal head, but he's got like a big,
creepy Willem Dafoe-esque head, like Green Goblin.
There you go. Yeah, Green Goblin head, but it's like made of skin and stuff. It seems. Flesh, yeah. So he like that's like the first monster she goes after because they get like. It's not like assignments, but there's just like a wanted list.
Yeah, there's like bounties on these things, and it's like, oh well, we could go. It's very much like, well, we'll go for that one. That one looks easy.
Yeah, like basically most of the other bounty hunters go for like the easy bounties, obviously, because you don't want to die.
Yeah,
and you want to get paid as much as possible. So the baddest of the bad, who's this guy Makaku, he's able to kind of like get away with murder, literally. So, this is like the ultimate bad guy. I love this bad guy because there's no like redemption or like, oh, it's sad because he was raised in a sewer. They even go into his backstory of him being raised in the sewers, and you don't feel bad for him because he literally eats people's brains for like sustenance. Like he's like, I love their brains are full of adrenaline and stuff, and he like that's what his body runs off of. So he's like, and he like likes being evil. Like that's his thing.
That adrenochrome.
Exactly. And so she goes after him as he starts to like take people's brains out in the middle of the street during the day.
And literally slurp them down.
Yeah, he'll just crack their head open and be like, brains. I like that brains. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to go after this guy because, he's the big bad. And the professor doesn't want her to do that, obviously, but he's like, okay, I'll team up with you and we'll go after him. And when they get to him, she doesn't, her new body, I love it. She's just in kind of like jogging clothes or whatever. Like she's in Adidas and like sweatpants. Yeah. And
crop top.
She's just like, I'm going to stop you, Makaku. And she goes after him and he's like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like I'm just going to tear her apart. And so she tries to fight him and she is able to like break off one of his arms. So there's definitely like, oh, she is formidable, but unfortunately her body now is not strong enough to defeat him. So she does rip off his arm, but he ends up smashing her body. And like, just when he's about to eat her brains, she actually is able to use one. She's only got one hand left. She's like a torso, a head, and a hand or an arm. And she's able to like bounce on one arm and stab him in the eye, which I thought was pretty awesome. Yeah. And I didn't realize later on in the art, I was like, what's that? And like, why is his eye like that? I thought it was just popped and like hanging out, but it's actually like her arm is just in his eye for the rest of the manga, which I thought was great. Like it breaks off in his eye and she just leaves it there. And then he's just blind. It's just, you just get a splinter in your eye and you just leave it there. He doesn't give a fuck. So, but unfortunately, like that doesn't kill him or anything. And so he's able to pretty much bite off her arm or her arm gets ripped off, and then it's just her. And luckily at that moment, the professor comes to be able to help.
And he's
her.
like, rocket
hammer, and he hits the body of Makaku, and it gets blown up pretty good. So much so that now he doesn't have both. He doesn't have any hands or arms, and we find out that his body like explodes, but it explodes because his body is just a suit.
Yeah,
it's a vessel. Because Makaku's real body, his real self, it's kind of like, in Independence Day when there's like a suit on the outside of the aliens and then they cut it open, there's a little alien inside.
Yeah.
It's like that. Where Makaku is just his head, and then there's like a little worm body that like sits down in his mechanical body. So
yeah, I guess it connects.
So until you kill his head, you don't really ever kill him. And so when his body explodes, his head flies into the air, and then he comes down. He's got a spike on his head, I should say. He's got like kind of like a helmet, like old German soldier, those pointy spikes on the top of the helmet.
That's perfect.
And so when he comes down with his head, he stabs through the professor, or he shoots the spike at the professor, and it stabs him. And then he just kind of like worms off, and he's like, "You'll never get me," and then slides away.
Until next time.
Yeah, until next time. And so then we're left with very wounded, like the professor is like literally stabbed in the gut with this giant.
Yeah, it's a giant spike.
Yeah, like we're saying, it's sticking out of him like 2.5 feet from the front, and it goes all the way through him, so it's sticking out of his back as well. So, and then he does something stupid. He pulls it out, which I was like, do not pull out stuff that's stuck in you. You just call help, and then leave it in, because you'll bleed to death if that hit an artery or something. Just little advice.
But spoilers, it didn't hit an artery.
Yeah, luckily, or anything important.
Or this giant, I don't know what, at least 6 inches probably in diameter.
The placement of it would surely have hit his intestines, stomach, possibly his spine.
But just perfectly enough, it just weaseled its way through all of that.
It just pushed around that stuff. It didn't, puncture it. So that was nice of that spike.
Yeah.
And so since now the doctor or the professor has, he's got to heal, and he does heal. But in the meantime, he gets his assistant to help build Alita a new body.
Which I like. This was funny because he's trying to convince him to do it, and he's like, "You used to work on bodies," and he's like, "Well, yeah, I was a vet before.
Yeah, I was a robot vet.
Yeah."
Which I thought was funny.
It's a little different.
Yeah, and so he has that guy build her, or I guess he finds. Or okay, we're gonna go back in the past because they introduced this idea that he would at one time, a different time before he found her in the dump. He was looking, and he found this old Berserker model.
Yeah.
And this Berserker model is like a soldier that apparently is very, very strong and has a lot of... It's kind of like the Iron Giant where, it's just a robot until you fucking point a gun at it, and then it's like, I will murder you. So basically, it's like a body that can do pretty much whatever you want. It's pretty badass. And so he's like, you know what? If she's going to be a hunter, I got to give her a body that's, hunter worthy, and she won't get... blown up every time she fights someone. So he builds her this body, or he gives her this body, and Gozu puts it inside of her. Is it Gozu?
Yeah, Gozu.
Okay, yeah. And so, or puts her inside of it, I should say. And so, yeah, this body is badass. We get a little backstory on the body in it and everything, like what the Berserker can do. And I like the design of it. It looks like definitely like it belongs in the early Terminator years, it definitely felt like this would be a very cool scene in an anime. When they introduced what the Berserker could do when it was just the Berserker and not Alita as well. So they give her this body, and we get to see all the cool shit that is involved in it.
And I like it that it's a gigantic body, like he said, Iron Giant size. But then when he puts Alita into it and connects her all up into it, then it basically transforms down, we'll say. I'm trying to think of a better term, not shrinks, but it conforms.
It sizes itself for the wearer or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't sure if that was the armor itself, or if they just took out certain things to make it fit her or not. But
it made it seem like it because they were this, but this is because they even said this is like a man's body, and now it looks more feminine too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they do say it does form into the shape of whatever, whoever the wearer is. Yeah. So then the cool thing was when she wakes up from her surgery, she's like, what's going on? And she kind of has like flashes of Mukaku attacking her. And then she sits up real quick, and then she's like, ooh, a new body. And then she does like does like 3 quick punches, and is like, ooh, I like this body. And then she's like, like I'm gonna murder people. It's like an awesome little face that she gets when she realizes how awesome her new body is. So she is like, I need to kill Mukaku. He's gonna come after me.
He said like till next time because I'll be back.
Yeah, like he really wants to kill both of them, but specifically her because she wounded him, and then he had to go away, like in his worm body. So, in the meantime, while she's got her new body and she's figuring that out, we catch up with Mukaku, and we cut to the upper echelon city, where apparently there's like battle cyborg fights and stuff. Like,
it makes sense. They got to have something to take up their time and bet on. There you go.
Yeah, and
waste money on.
We get like the different fighters, and there's like the victorious like current champ, I guess, the heavyweight champ,
the undefeated champ of 28 bouts or something.
The Tyson Fury of this comic, and his, I don't know, what'd you think about his design?
It's very samurai-esque, like it felt like Samurai Gundam a little bit.
Yeah, he's got that, but then he also has a like a boar on his belt buckle. This is a Texas belt buckle if I ever seen one. There's like a boar on his belt buckle, and his belt buckle is bigger than anything you could ever imagine a belt buckle being. And the head actually comes out from his like waistline. It looks like a dick. I'll just say that. It was very phallic.
Yeah, very phallic.
But apparently this boar, and I didn't really pick up on this until like later on when like the shit goes down. But like apparently the boar is like a strategic element and helps the fighter. So like it'll be like, you should go left or whatever, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's calculating moves and strategic strategies for you, or strategic strategies.
Strategery.
Yes, exactly. It calculates strategies for you. So we get like a good long fight with the champ and his challenger, and we see like what their suit can do, and it's pretty badass. He's got these fingers that shoot out, and one thing I love about like 80s manga, and I don't know if this is everyone, but whenever you're having like a tough guy fighting, they name the moves, which I fucking love. It's very much like pro wrestling or something, which, in Japan, there's a very big pro wrestling.
Oh, yeah. They still love it.
Yeah, of course. So it makes sense because even in like Fist of North Star, every time he does anything, it could look the same on the page as any other movie he's ever done, but he's like, that was the Fist of the Zephyr Wind mountain punch or whatever. And you're like, what? And then all of a sudden you understand that, oh, and that makes your head explode and your chest burst out of your body. And it's like everyone does something different and everyone's got a name. And this is the same as that. Like,
yeah. Every Dragon Ball Z, they got it when they do their special moves.
Yeah. Kaioken. Yeah. Or Kamehameha. Yeah. Gatling Cannon and all that shit. So, everyone has a name. I never realized that. It doesn't seem as silly or like as standoutish in Dragon Ball. Maybe because they're like energy strikes or something.
Maybe.
But now that you say that, they do call it out every fucking time. So, yes. No, that's just awesome.
You can't do a Kamehameha without saying Kamehameha.
Yeah, I mean you have to focus the power with the word, right? So, but this, I mean that's why it makes more sense to me in Dragon Ball is because it feels like it's part of the move, like you have to do it. Whereas in this, they just do it, and then the little narration says like that was the the razor punch of Mount Olympus or whatever, and like it's like okay. So we find out that this challenger or the heavyweight champion's main move is or like his defeat move that he kills everybody with is like these fingers that come out and they're like blades and they go at like Mach 15 speed or whatever.
Cutters.
The grind cutters, is that what they? Yeah. So they fly out and they just like they're like whips and then they'll like chew you up and no one can defeat them. Like that's why he's so good. Besides his pig belt, that's calculating strategies for him. He's got these badass weapons that can just take anybody on. So, and this is like a human inside of like the cyborg arms or whatever. So, this guy, what's his name? He's got a name, but
Kanuba.
Okay, so Kanuba is the champion. And after he wins his bout, he goes and he hangs out and he's signing autographs. I love this. He's got a giant fucking pencil or pen, and he's like, it just seems like he's about to sign autographs or something.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Actually, that's like a big cup. I thought it was, when I read this the first time, I'm like, oh, he's just signing autographs because it's so gigantic and weird, but it's like one of those horns, like a Viking horn. That's what it is.
That's a drinking challenge.
Yes. So, and then, he goes on to say, like, my entire undefeated streak is because of these hands and my awesome grinder, move or whatever. So, we get like we get to see him kill. There's a guy that comes in that is like, I'm your biggest fan. Please, sign my autograph book or whatever. And he's like, what? This guy's weird. Like, he seems very odd. He's got like an odd face and everything. So that dude threatens him and is like, I like your power and your body. And it's very weird. This dude, he looks very cherubic and he doesn't look anything like Makaku.
No, yeah.
And it turns out that this is Makaku in a secret body. He was under.
Yeah, the head was under the garbs of the body, and he's got arm.
He's pulling a leather face.
Yeah,
is what he's doing right now. He's wearing someone else's skin or something, or some other robot skin. It literally looks like he just pulled someone's head off, hollowed it out, and put it over his face.
Yeah,
and then his face was able to work it. So, what's his name? The fighter.
Kanuba.
There you go. Kanuba, tries to fight him, attacks, but this was awesome. So Makaku, jumps out of that body that he was in, and just in time to miss that deadly attack. And then he's in worm form, and he just goes slithers up the legs, I guess, of Kanuba and goes in the back of his neck, and he burrows into Kanuba's neck, and he just basically replaces Kanuba's head with his head. So now Makaku's got this badass body, and he's able to, now have a badass body and kill people.
The ultimate body.
This very much reminded me of Dragon Ball with ultimate bodies and that, but without the transformation.
You haven't seen my final form.
My final form. And so he knows that now he can kill anybody, including that girl, Battle Angel Alita. He doesn't know her name, but the one.
That one girl that gave me a little rough up.
Yeah. So,
this is when then they basically go to a bar after this, and this is
it's like a hunter bar. Look,
yeah.
not Makaku. God damn it, I forgot his name. But yeah, it's like a hunter bar for just the hunters in the town, and Alita takes Professor there after while the fight and the taking over the bodies happening with Makaku. The Professor and Alita go to this bar, and everybody's checking her out because she's got this new body. She's got some skin tight pants on and stuff. She's got like leather pants, we'll say now. So this is where you were saying probably that people were treating her sexistly or whatever.
I'd say just a little more oh, hey, what's up, baby?
What's up, baby? Yeah. And some of the guys do literally catcall her woo, just go after her fully. Who's your new assistant? She's a cutie. She should have a drink with us. And she doesn't take any offense to it or anything, but it was just oh, okay, her new body is slamming to the other hunters at least. And so in this bar, and I thought this was weird at first, why do they have this bar scene? But it totally sets up her abilities in a story structure, because eventually some of the hunters are dicks, and they get in a fight with Alita. And then Alita basically takes on all the hunters in this bar and kicks their fucking ass. So this is where you get to see what her abilities are with her new body before she fights Makaku, which sets his power up with his new body really good, because you get to see her skills versus what they were before. Yeah. And then also you're oh shit, she's crazy good now. And then when she fights Makaku a little bit later, it's oh shit, he's really good now. So it builds the tension of the fight scenes well.
And this is also good too, because the whole reason she even fights with them is because they come in, and this is where they kind of, like I said, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but they explain they get bounties and they go after the easier ones and whatnot. And she's well, why does anybody go after Makaku? And they're why are you crazy? Because he's killed everybody that they were not going to do that. And she's well, I'm going to. And they're psh, you're some newbie or whatever. You're not even a pro yet. Like, how do you think you're going to be able to go after that, you little, and they even are like,
they throw out some sexist terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. They call her a bitch. And and then she's like, what'd you call me? So she jumps on their table and then proceeds to beat the fuck out of all of them. And that was pretty fun. I thought this was a good, like, once I understood why it was here narratively, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this is just to set up her new skills before she fights Makaku, because you have to know that before she fights the new body of Makaku, so you get like the tension of, oh shit, he's really good now, So she beats up everybody, and for not going after Makaku, and I thought this was great. So she beats up everybody, and just as everybody's kind of calming down and about to, like, there's like a couple left that are like, we gotta get her. And then Makaku just shows up and is like, hey guys, what's going on? Like someone say my name? Like, he's very much like the Fruit Punch Man. Like, oh yeah, just burst through the wall. Just comes out of nowhere. But it was funny because it's just like, he's ready to fight, and she just happened to fight. So we got to see her power in her new body. And then
I did like one of the guys, because he's in the body of the champion. He's like, oh man, it's the champion. It's Kanuba. What's up, dude? You're like my favorite fighter, man.
Yeah, can I get your autograph? And of course, this is Makaku, and he's like, yeah, sure. And he just like reaches down, rips the dude's heads off, and like eats his brain. And like, this is one of the funny. This looked like MPD Psycho brain. Like, seriously, like the detail on this brain was just like, ugh, as he just like picks out the dude's brain and like sets it on his tongue and is like, like, gulp. And it's super creepy. But yeah, so like we see, okay, Makaku's back and she's got to fight him. So they square off, and we get to see like Mukaku's vision of her with his new body and everything. He gets to see like what her body, it's kind of like Predator vision or something, where he can like, he's analyzing her, like, I don't know if this is his belt, like his pig belt, or if it's actually like him. His eyes, yeah. But because he didn't do it before, I don't think. At least they didn't show it like this. But he's able to look at her like with many different analyzing mechanics or whatever, and he can see like, oh, you got a new body. It looks pretty powerful. Let's fucking go. And he says like he's gonna tear her limbs off. And I thought this was like pretty creepy. Like if you actually did this, he's going to tear her limbs off and she's just going to be a torso, and he's going to put her in a necklace that will go around his body. Like he'll hang it on his chest, and she'll just be like screaming. Like she'll still be alive, but she'll just be like screaming on his chest, like, ah, all the time. He'll be like, that's how badass I am.
Yeah.
Look at this screaming girl. Like, I just thought that was funny. Like if he did that, it's like the most like fucked up, that's like bad guy move you could do. No one would fuck with you if you had like a screaming cyborg on your chest at all times.
Yeah.
So they begin to like fight, and he initially tries to go after the professor, but she does not let him. And then he's like, oh, you think your body's cool? Check this shit out. And he, tries one of his fingers at her. His new, what are those? The grinder.
The grinder, yeah, grinder cutters.
Yeah, the grinder cutters. He points his pointer at her, and the grinder cutter comes out, this whip of a blade, and she's able to kind of deflect it. So you're like, oh, okay. She kicks it away, and you're like, okay, like her new body seems to be well suited to fight, this new Makaku body. And so they go all out in this bar. I think it's funny that they're just destroying this dude's bar. Like, oh, the other thing about this bar is there's just a baby.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I don't know where the baby came from. I don't remember.
It's just on the bar. It's just sitting. It's hanging from like a chandelier on the bar. There's just a baby there.
Yeah, there's a baby and a dog.
Right. Yes, I thought that was funny. The dog comes in handy. I was like, why is the dog here? And then it definitely comes in handy because the baby is on the bar as all this shit's happening, and she already destroyed like a bunch of the bar because she fought all those other guys. So there's just a baby, and it turns out it's like the bartender's kid. And the bartender is friendly to them. So it's like, oh, sorry about your bar. Didn't mean to destroy your livelihood, or put your baby in danger. But so now everything's really in danger because Makaku's going all out. He kind of gets a one-up on Alita, and then Makaku sees the baby and is like, ooh, I like babies.
Let me just gobble that up.
Yeah, I don't even need to take the brain out. I'll just swallow the baby whole. So he takes the baby, and Mukaku's like, oh, you like this baby? Like, oh, well, why don't you follow me down? And during their fight, they happen to smash through the floor. I like how they they have to say like how this just appeared, because there's just a hole in the floor automatically, like for no reason. And he's like, luckily I cut these like the concrete with my blades so that this hole would appear, and luckily it is exactly where I need it, which it goes down to the subterranean town that it was built, or that was originally built in, or the town that they're in is built over top of it. Yeah. So it's much like Futurama. Yeah,
that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. So there's like a scum town that, like, basically instead of having like sewage lines and stuff for this new city, all the sewage just drains into this old city. You know, why not?
Why would you do anything different?
Yeah. So he's like, oh, if you want this baby, then I propose a game. You have to, fight me on my terms, and we'll play this game, and you have to come get this baby. So he jumps down with the baby, and the dog follows after him, because the dog's like, not my baby, basically. Like I don't know if, I guess that dog is
maybe the owner's
dog or something. So it's like, I gotta save my owner's baby. So he jumps after it. And I only say that because it does come to play. Because I was like, how is she gonna fight this fucking thing? Like, when they bring up the inevitable, like, well, you're holding a baby, and so you can't move as fast as you could before, kind of thing. It comes in handy. So she follows Makaku down, and once again we get like this like happy face on her when she's like about to jump down, and she's like, haha, I'm gonna go fight him. And like,
well, I love Ito's like, I wish I could come, but he's like half in a wheelchair still from his
he's from the spike through his body.
And she's like, it's okay, I'm gonna go get that sweet little baby, because I'm a hunter too. Haha.
Yeah, and she put like wink ding, like
you should see you're a little star.
Yeah, like but like I just think it's funny, like you get like these little cutesy moments in her, even though she's like a battle droid, basically, like badass warrior. So she jumps down and she's like, don't worry, I promise to save your baby. And she jumps down she says that to the bartender. And then she lands in the sewer. And this sewer is pretty gnarly looking. There's like a lot of, like the old city has a lot of pipes and everything going into it from the city above. And there's just, you can just tell there's like literal sewage being poured down the building.
Shit everywhere.
Yes. And so she jumps down, and this is where we get to see, we haven't seen all of her new body skills. We've seen her fight, but we haven't seen some of the very useful aspects, which we get to see first thing here. She lands on a pillar, and as she's falling down it, she kind of like misses the landing, or she hits it and maybe rolls over backwards. Yeah. It seems like it's probably old and it's just not made to take a hit like that. So it starts to fall over, and to like get her balance, she sticks her fingers out, and like they're able to like just punch into the brick as she slides down, and it kind of like slows her down enough to land.
Yeah, like she kind of like skirts down the side of it. That's fun. It's like repelling almost.
Yeah, and they don't really show exactly what that is, but you're like, okay, I guess her new body can stab into concrete. Cool. And so as this comes into play later, because she's about to fight, or like as she gets up, I thought this was funny too. She gets out of the water because she lands in the gross sewage water, and she does like this dog move where she like shakes her head off really fast. So she goes from like super wet hair to like perfect battle hair, like, and like her hair is completely dry. And then she's looking for Makaku, and she can't find him, but she's definitely like worried about the baby. Because I think the baby's crying. I think she can hear it like throughout the tunnels and stuff.
Yeah, so it's like echoing around.
Yeah, and also she can hear Makaku like saying, "Aren't you gonna get the baby?" Like, teasing her and stuff. So Makaku has put this baby just hanging from some rebar like over some sewage, and it could fall at any moment. That's what it looks like. And so right as she's about to get it, because obviously it's a trap, the grinder blades fly out of the water, and it turns out that this is Mukaku's hometown. This is where he was born. He was born in the darkness. So yeah, he was born in the shit town.
Yeah, he has his little Bane moment.
Yeah, he does have his Bane moment. And so,
but yeah, like you said, like even though you're like, oh, he came, like it does, you don't feel bad for him really.
No, because the lesson he learned from that wasn't like, oh, like I don't want to treat people like garbage like I was treated. It's, you got to be the guy to step on everybody else, or else you're going to be the guy that gets stepped on. So
now let me eat those baby brains.
Yeah. Also, they make him irredeemable because he's killing babies. Or trying to kill babies. He's killing random people, just pulling out their brains and stuff. So unlike villains nowadays, they tend to give them like a sympathetic story and leave it at that and try to make you like them for some reason. This is like an unapologetic villain, even though you understand where he came from, doesn't justify his evilness.
I'll agree with that more. I that is one thing. I feel like they are more and more having villains be like, oh, I get why he went that way. Like,
yeah, it's not their fault.
Not all of them are like. Some of them are. I get that.
A lot of them are now.
But a lot of them are.
Yeah. Like, especially like, you get like Harley Quinn. Like nowadays, she's like a hero. Not an anti-hero. She's a hero. And it's kind of like, but I mean, she was like a murderer for a really long time.
She did murder people. She stole a bunch of things.
Yeah, just because she was like abused by Joker doesn't mean that justifies the murdering that she did of everybody for like 30 years or whatever it was, until like 2 years ago when she's like, oh, people like her. Oh, we'll have to reform her so that people can read her comic and feel good about it or whatever. It's like, and same with like Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy and her are a couple now, and it's like Poison Ivy definitely has a history of murder and badness and doing really bad things. And now she's just like, yeah, I'm her girlfriend. And we are great. Like, so there's definitely, it takes the edge off a lot of these bad guys, and it kind of makes it hard to care about, why is Batman fighting them? Like, why do we care, kind of thing. So, so I like that Mukaku is like a genuinely bad guy. Even like in Dragon Ball, they explain why Vegeta is the way he is, but he did murder a bunch of planets for Frieza, and he went. We saw the saga where he goes. And he tries to kill Goku for no reason, and so it's like, okay, he's a bad guy. And then they reform him after a long time in the series, and you see the progression of it. It wasn't like, we just want him good because people like him. We'll have him turn on a dime or something. There's no like lessons learned or anything.
That's true. I think you were saying that, I was like, oh, I feel bad now because Vegeta was like that. But I guess it makes sense because Vegeta, that was over several seasons, and like he still holds a grudge.
He's still a dick
until pretty much like maybe-ish now. I think maybe into Super, he's like.
I haven't watched Super, so I don't know. But I mean, there's always like a grudge between him and I was going to say Kakarot, but Goku.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the turn is that like he falls in love with Bulma and all that. So and it does skip ahead, like it does just like, oh, they're married now, but you do like learn why.
Yeah.
There's like a whole episode or two where it's like, this is why he became a good person in quotation marks, like a less of a dick.
Yeah.
And we like him now. He's on our side, kind of thing. Where they don't do that too well in modern comics, I don't think. But back to this comic, Mukaku is irredeemably bad, even though he came from bad circumstances. And so she saves the baby. As Mukaku comes out, she dodges all his attacks, and she pulls the baby off of the piece of iron bar that he was hanging on. And he's like, oh, you think you did something good, but guess what? Like, you can't dodge my attacks now because you were going faster than like Mach 12 or whatever because my fingers go that fast. Well, now you can't go that fast because you have a baby in your arms. So like, there's no way you can dodge any of my attacks. And right when he says that, Fang, the dog, comes out of nowhere and is like, I'm going to kill you. And he like attacks Mukaku. And this is where we find out what was stuck in his arm, in Mukaku's eye the whole time. The dog latches on to her arm that was still stuck in his eye the entire time since he fought her the first time. And he pulls that out, and then the dog is like, gets in the water, and she's like, oh my God, the dog. Guess what? Well, this is perfect. This works out great. You can take the baby and you take it back to the master, your master or whatever. And then I can fight Mukaku. This worked out well. So, I like that. Like you introduce a dog and a baby just to have tension, and like maybe the dog's gonna die. That's what you think, and then it's like, oh, the dog's there just to save the baby, so they can get him out of the battleground, and then now they can fight full bore. So they do that, and this was cool. This is like, I like this because they show it, they don't tell it. So we saw her fingers earlier punch into the concrete. And then now, he attacks at her, and she does this move where she like just misses his attack on one of his hands, and she like uses her finger, and it just shows him dragging around his arm like in a swirl motion, like spiraling down his arm. And it doesn't look like it does anything initially. And so she's able to like it doesn't do anything initially. In fact, you're like, oh, I guess, I don't know. I guess she was just dodging him, and that was like supporting her or something. And then she punches off is his other arm. I think she kicks it, right? Or no, her hand when he's being attacked with her again. She does another move with the same hand, or I guess her hands are both the same, and it like somehow cuts off his arm. Like he's like, "What the fuck?"
I guess it basically. I assume it made like incisions, and then she basically like.
No. This is a different.
Oh, there's
two different arms. Okay. So there's the one arm that he attacks with normally. It's his right arm. She does the spiral on that one. Then the left arm he attacks with, and she actually chops that one off at the forearm.
Okay.
And he's like, "How did you do that? This new battle armor." I like this. He's like, "It's 40 millimeters thick." It's like, what is that thick? I don't know. I'm American. I don't know what millimeters are. So, but yeah, like he says it's 40 millimeters thick, and there's no way that you could cut through my skin like butter. And then it turns out that her hands have some sort of like aura that she can produce when in a certain situation. Like, and this is much like Iron Giant. So the professor kind of earlier, we didn't say this, but when she jumps down, he was talking about her jumping down and being like, "I hope she's okay." But, I did notice that the battle armor, the berserker armor, when put in stressful situations of life and death, will like manifest self-defense protocols, basically, that can like, hopefully they kick in, basically is what he says.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what happened is she, she's fighting Makaku. It's a life and death situation. And as she's fighting him, she just instinctively activates this new move that's like, it's basically a lightsaber that comes out of her fingers and like lets her cut through anything with her hands. So she cuts off one of his hands. And then this is where you find out, we never know that the Bohr belt that he has on his new body, that it's a calculator until this moment, because she does that. And then the Bohr is like, analyzing capabilities, new capabilities found. Like, and then like Makaku's like, "What? You didn't find this earlier, Bohr? You're useless." And he like rips the Bohr head off of his belt, which I was like, you're just kicking yourself.
Yeah.
You're shooting yourself in the foot there, because like it probably could have helped you to have that, analysis belt for strategy against her.
And I like that, like, she also has like this moment of like, she comes down from her moves and she's like, "Oh, I feel totally like at like center and like ease with this." And then she's like, I also like within doing that, like she took some of the like
the blood from him
and like gave her some war paint under her eyes, and she's like, "I don't know why I did this, but I feel like I'm ready.
But this feels right." Yes. She looks super badass with her war paint on like the blood of her enemies on her face. Yeah. Fuck yeah. So she begins fighting again, and he's like, "Ha ha ha. Like you still think you're good enough to beat me, but these razor fists, I've been going easy on you with these razor grinders," or whatever. What are they called again? Whatever.
Yeah.
Grinder cutters. There you go. Grinder, razor, cutter, sword, fingers, whatever. And so so he's like, "Now I'm going to go like full speed on you." And he does that. And when he does, his body like malfunctions. And it turns out it's because like he's got one arm missing, so his body's like out of balance now. So now that he doesn't have the Bohr and he doesn't have his other arm, it like throws his body off balance. He's like, "What? It didn't work like I thought it would." And then his whole arm like explodes, the one that was left. And he's like, "What? How can this be?" And it turns out that it's because that spiral that she cut into his arm, or that spiral that she did on his arm, it wasn't just stabilizing. It was like cutting into him just enough to weaken his armor so that next time he tries that move, it will explode when he tries to go full bore with it. And so it blows up, and that's pretty much the end of him. It like literally, he is completely dead, and he's just sitting there like, "You blew off my arm," and she's like, "Yeah, I did it," and she explains how the fingers work. Like, yeah, I could instinctively know that if I did this spiral move, it would do what it. My instincts came out, and it would cut through just enough so that your arm would blow up next time you tried to use it.
Yeah. I did love right as they're fighting and he's like about to do the move again, like all of this raw sewage comes flushing down.
Yeah.
And he's like, just like when Mom threw me down the
he got flushed down the toilet. That's the the series, like that's why he was raised down there, because his mom flushed him down
his
the
mom
toilet.
flushed him down the toilet or whatever. I just love that he thinks that that's like, I don't know, it's like a fun throwaway line, but
Yeah, he thought he was gonna win because that. He's like, oh, it's raining down. It's gonna be. I'm used to this.
I'm in my element.
I grew up in shit. This is new to you. So, and then surprisingly, this book just ends with him being like, wow, you blew off my arm. And then she explains like, oh yeah, it was with my fingers. And then it just ends.
Yep. And she's like, I got magic fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. She does like a little pose and then like cutesy face and then hell yeah. So she does like, it looks like she does like a little, like a little kiss at him or something, like, haha, you suck. And so that's where it ends. Like it ends really quickly. There's no real conclusion other than like, she defeated him, but he still has a body. So like, I wonder if it must continue to like maybe his head escapes and he becomes a bigger villain next or something. I don't know.
I definitely want to read more for this one.
Yeah. And I think it's only 6 volumes or 7 volumes or something. It's not very long for manga. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's a complete like thing.
Yeah, it's complete. I mean, it finished a long time ago.
Oh,
so.
nice.
Yeah, this is from the 80s.
I know. I didn't. Well, I know.
That's true. I mean, Berserker's from the 80s too, and it's what Tankobon 44 or some shit right now. So yeah, it's just that one just continued. But this one does have an ending apparently.
Nice.
Or at least there's a certain amount of books. I don't know if it fully has like a complete ending, but yeah, let us know if it does have a complete ending because I would like to continue reading and would like to know that. But anyway, so that is Battle Angel Alita. It was a pretty quick one because it was a pretty quick read. But John, what did you think? What would you give it?
I liked it overall. This is probably one of the best mangas we've read so far, honestly. Like as far as like just complete, concise story, kept me involved the whole time.
Yeah, this really felt like a comic book. Like it's like there's no time to waste. We're just throwing these beats at you, story wise, and they all make sense, and they all they do a good job of throwing in little things like the serial killer beats and even like the baby and the dog, where it's like we're introducing. Elements that we're going to pay off really quick that make you interested in the story. Yeah,
there's never like any time that you feel like it's about to go into downtime, it's like the next page is like, oh, something happens.
Right, like when she's getting her body rebuilt and you're like, okay, like obviously they're going to do a montage or a couple pages of her learning. Yeah. No, they just cut to Mukaku getting his new body and getting a fight that way. So like every time you think it's going to be down, it's not, and it's a really efficient way of telling a new character story, I think.
Yeah. And I really liked all the art in this. There were a couple pages I had to like go back and forth to make sure I understood what was happening in the fights. Because
fights are always hard though.
Yeah, just because some of the line work, sometimes there's so many lines on a page and it's action lines and you're like, well, wait a minute, which is the finishing move here? Who's doing the
right? Yeah.
So there were a couple pages of that. And again, that's also because it's in black and white. I think it had the whole thing in bit of color, you probably wouldn't have encountered that.
Right. Oh, and there are some color, like usually in manga. I don't know if we've read enough manga for you to know, but there's usually like two to 5 pages at the beginning of each chapter that are in color. And I will say the color portions of this book are fantastic. I really liked the way the world looks.
I did too. Like the color gradient was it wasn't like bright and shiny.
Yeah, it's like a soft. It looks like desaturated. Yeah, it looks very post-apocalyptic. Yeah, I did like that. We've had that in I think one of the Junji Ito's, maybe both of them. Oh yeah, they had those.
So we've seen that a bit.
Pretty much every manga I've read does that.
Do you know why that is? I don't know.
I think it's just like for the treatment in these hardcovers or these different volumes when they release them in book form.
They just
because I think a lot of these come out in the chapters in different magazines in Japan, like comic books, but they're like phone books that just have here's 20 comic books all in one, and then whichever ones. I think people do surveys or did surveys in them and would be like, I like Battle Angel Alita, check that one, do that one. So they would just weed out the ones that people didn't like and fill them with Dragon Ball and Alita and those kinds of things. Yeah. So it's kind of an efficient way to get your product out, and it's like cheap telephone book paper that they're using. And then when they put them in volumes, like collected volumes, you can do like little cool things where it's like kind of special that it's going to have color, or usually like if you get we read it digitally, but if you actually have the volumes, usually those color pages are gloss pages and they're thicker paper and stuff. Yeah. So they're like nicer looking.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so.
Well, I will say too, like I feel like sometimes some of the manga we've seen, it seems like some of the art is similar, but I really did like the art in this one too.
Yeah, this one was different.
Yeah, it definitely stood out a little more. Like Junji Ito has stood out for sure, and that's more because it's his style. It's the horror element to it. But I really did like this one as well. I like the aesthetic of it, and then I like the characters of them too. Like sometimes some of the characters are a little more cartoony, and some of them are a little more robot-y, and some of them are a little more like human-y, badass. So.
Yeah, and this really felt like it could be an animated show for sure. Like,
very much.
Whoever made, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming anime was a thing when this was made, so they're like, yeah, we're gonna make this cartoony and cool designs, but not too complex or anything. So when you draw it animated, it's gonna look good. Like
I'm sure. Yeah, we'll have to look. I definitely want to watch the movie now. So, but
the live action,
yes. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I
don't know if that's good or not. I know it's a Robert Rodriguez movie, so
Oh, is it?
Yeah, if you like his stuff, maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I know it didn't do well in the box office, but that doesn't mean it's like a bad movie. So.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I would say I would give this one an 8. It was really fun.
Oh wow, that's a high rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will give this one. I guess I'll give this one a 7. I enjoyed it. I want to know more about what happens though. Like the way it ended, I'm like, really? It just fucking ends like she's like finishing move and then done. There's no like wrap up or anything.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed it. I thought the story had those elements, those beats that tricked me. I like the serial killer thing. I was like, holy shit, he's a serial killer? That's fucked up. Like I thought there was gonna be like a whole like that was gonna be the bad guy because they hadn't really introduced the bad guy at that moment. So you're just like, oh, what's the antagonist in this? And then it's like, oh, is it gonna be like she's gonna have to fight her master or like the guy that built her or whatever? Like that's pretty fucked up. Like her father, like she was calling him like dad. That they established this relationship. So
Papa.
Yeah, papa. So yeah, I'll give it a 7. I think it was solid, and I definitely want to check out all the books. I liked the art a lot. It definitely had its unique style. Like you said, it's cartoony in some parts. Like I like the professor's design a lot. He's got like a very cartoony face.
Yes.
And I like it when you can tell like the different creators. Like everybody's got their own style. I find a lot of comic books in America or like Western comics have kind of dumbed down their art style in the last couple of years, and you can't tell one artist from another on like the general comics. Now, I don't know if that's fair to judge this because yes, like I said, they had phone books, and the ones that were the best that got voted, those were the ones that filled it up eventually. So I'm sure the ones that were not the ones that people liked and voted for were probably the same, like, oh, this isn't good because the art's lame or whatever. Yeah. So we don't see those ones. The ones that come to America are like the cream of the crop. So I don't know what those ones are, like what the bad ones are. But from what I see, usually the mangas that come here have really good art. At least the older, I'll say the older ones do. Some of the newer ones, I'm like, it just seems kind of generic.
Yeah.
Like when Chainsaw Man didn't care about that.
I was gonna say, we read some really weird ones recently.
Yeah, Fire Punch didn't care about that art.
Chainsaw Man.
Even Attack on Titan, the art was good, but to me it just seemed like, yes, this is generic manga art. It didn't stand out as like special. And this has a style. And so does Fist of North Star, and so does Berserk, and so does
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z, like that dude, I can't remember. Akira Toriyama?
I believe so.
Okay. He's got fucking awesome art. I love that you just tell, like, and I mean, true, whatever he does looks like a Dragon Ball character or whatever, but but I love his like designs of things and just the way his world is and his technology and stuff.
I love his dinosaurs.
Yes.
Like, you don't see as many, obviously you get later in, but like early Dragon Ball and stuff, all of the like.
Well, Dragon Quest too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's all of those. I love his creatures are always really
his creatures and his tech are good, and then all of his characters tend to have like similar faces and stuff. But you can tell it's him, and I like that. I like you can tell like when an artist is doing something, and that's like a '90s thing, like because in America there was like the house styles of Marvel and DC, and you couldn't really stray from those styles. You could have kind of your own flair. Maybe if you were like a really good artist, you could have kind of your own flair. But until you got the image guys like Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, all those guys, Jim Lee, the styles didn't really, they were always on a model. And until they came in and were like, they don't need to be like, oh, let me do this. And then everybody responded to it. And they're like, okay, if people want it, then give it to them. We just sold 1 million issues for no reason other than this artist is on it. So once that happened, and you like, I love that in the 90s, especially the early 90s, you can see like that is Rob Liefeld, that is Todd McFarlane, and I feel like that is what these books are. You can pick out their art, like that is that person right away. So I like that a lot. Yeah, and I definitely want to continue this series. Probably I'll probably just buy the hardcovers and just like read through the whole series.
Oh, that you liked it that much?
Yeah, I'd buy the hardcovers for it. I know I gave it a 7. 7's pretty high, you know, like
that's high for Matt. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it goes like 8 and 9 are like top of the top, and then like maybe this series will be top of the top at the end of it, you know, and then 10 is I've given very few things a 10, so yeah, but it was great. What are we reading next week, John?
So next week we are going to do one of our favorite series we're going to get back to. We are going to do the Parker novels. Yeah. And we're going to do the next one in the series.
Which I believe is called The Score.
Yeah. Which if you haven't checked those out before, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you like true crime noir stuff.
It's not true crime.
Not true crime. Crime. It's crime noir. I apologize. It is not true. Well, it could be true crime somewhere. But it's not true crime that we know. It's just crime noir. But I love the style of this.
It's Darwin Cook.
It's Darwin Cook, exactly. So
he drew and wrote or adapted the books from Richard Stark, who died like a couple of years ago. But he was like a crime novelist in the I guess 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, through his whole life. And he wrote like, you know, kind of dime store crime pulp novels, and very successful. His real name was Donald Westlake, but his pen name for the Parker series was Richard Stark. And the Parker books have been made into movies. The Mel Gibson movie Payback. There was a movie that came out with Jason Statham a couple of years ago. I can't remember what it's called. Parker.
That was called Parker.
Yeah. And then there's like there was a bunch of movies in the 70s that were made that were like loosely based on some of his stories. So
well, I can't highlight enough. We'll throw up this week. I'll throw up on our thing like in the stories and whatnot. If you want to go back and check out the last couple episodes. Because this is one that Matt was like, oh, just check them out. They're really fun. I really love this. And like, I love this series now. Like, it is.
Was that your introduction to Darwin Cook on the channel?
I don't know if it was that or if it was, or no, I think Justice League,
New
Frontier was the first, which, I mean, that's like a magnum opus.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's understandable. But like for something that's out, that's like not like a main.
Yeah. No one knows about this.
It's fantastic. I love it. So I'm really excited for the next one.
Okay. Yeah. We'll check that out. And if you like crime, there's no better than when you got Darwin Cook on art, which is fantastic, and you got cool crime 70s, you know, hip gangster guy. So that's always fun. And then we're also going to put our poll out on Patreon. So if you would like to vote on what we do this month for our Patreon poll pick, which is what this was, and also the last episode with Attack on Titan, those were poll winners. So if you would like to influence what we do for episodes once a month, we have a poll. You can sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, and you will be able to vote on what we pick. So what are we doing this week this month for the poll?
This month is going to be characters that we have never done on the channel. So ones that maybe they've been in something we've read, but we've never done like just their story.
Yeah, and we did this a couple times back, like a couple months back.
I think it was,
and we ended up doing the Spectre and Animal Man. So those are two fun ones. I'm glad we got to get the Spectre is not one of my favorite characters. Like I'd never read anything. He was like, I think I even said like he's one of those characters that I saw and I was like, I like you, but I don't know where to start, and I don't know no one talks about him. So then we read that book, and I was like, I fucking love this series. This is like fantastic. So one of my new favorites, and we got some cool ones, some ones that I've read before and ones that I haven't. So I'm excited. But ones that John has never read any of these.
Yeah, I don't think I've read any of the ones on our list. But we'll
yeah, we definitely haven't done those characters on our podcast. So check that out if you would like. Sign up for our Patreon, and with that, we will see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.